especially in my area, I'm looking at 14 inches of snow outside, like right now. But across the United States, look, man, if you're blessed to have power, I mean, yes, you are blessed right now because there's about 1 million people across the United States who don't have it, hundreds of thousands in your state possibly who don't have it, and especially in mine. So, yeah, trust me, that winter storm really hit us in the Northeast.
These declarations will help state-led efforts of turning power back on, clearing roads for emergency services, and keeping communities safe. The White House will continue to correspond directly with governors and local officials in the coming days, especially in those states that were harshly impacted by this storm. I would also like to address the chaotic scenes in Minnesota over the weekend. Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people getting hurt or killed in America's streets. This includes Renee Good, Alex Preddy, the brave men and women of federal law enforcement, and the many Americans who have been victimized at the hands of illegal alien criminals. Saturday's shooting remains under active investigation by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI. The Customs and Border Protection is also conducting their own internal review. As President Trump said yesterday, the administration is reviewing everything with respect to the shooting, and we will let that investigation play out. But let's be clear about the circumstances which led to that moment on Saturday. This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor WALZ and the Mayor Jacob Fry and other...
And trust me, the administration is not going to let go of this point because they're not wrong. If Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry was just to send out the police, the local police to provide crowd control, if Governor Tim Walz would just bring in the National Guard to protect ICE and let them do their law enforcement, let them do their deportations, then we wouldn't be dealing with this right now. Renee Good would still be alive, and so would this man Alex. But for some reason, they're letting things get out of hand, and they're trying to blame ICE for it. And I'm gonna be real with you. Yes, that Alex shooting, bro, it was sloppy work on their part. But once again, it looks like these guys are going to get off on a lawful shooting.
Elected Democrats were spreading lies
just because he put himself
about
in the way.
Federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives daily to remove the worst criminal illegal aliens from our streets: murderers, rapists, pedophiles, human traffickers, and gang members. Governor Walz and Mayor Fry have shamefully blocked local and state police from cooperating with ICE, actively inhibiting efforts to arrest violent criminals. They have also used their platforms to encourage left-wing agitators to stalk, record, confront, and obstruct federal officers who are just trying to lawfully perform their duties, which has created dangerous situations threatening both these officers and the general public and Minnesotans alike.
Yeah, and here's the problem, though. The left will sit there and say, oh, they're against protests. No, nobody's against protests. Everybody's against obstructing law enforcement, except for the politicians in Minnesota. They're apparently all for it. They're promoting it. But no, nobody's against protesting. Nobody's against the freedom of speech of these protesters. The problem is, though, that there's protesting and there's obstruction. There's getting in police officers' faces, thinking that you can get involved in a police scene and think that you're going to be okay. That is obstruction, not protesting.
This is precisely what unfolded in Minneapolis on Saturday morning. Obstructing federal law enforcement and inciting violence against officers is wrong and illegal. This used to be a universally accepted position in the United States. Amid the hysteria, we must remember how we got here to this moment today and what this Democrat opposition is about. Former President Joe Biden and the Democrats opened America's borders for 4 years, inviting tens of millions of illegal aliens from all over the world to flood into our country. Among them, violent criminals who terrorized American communities and have inflicted devastating, permanent pain and harm on law-abiding Americans and their families. Yet we never saw outrage from Democrats or their allies in the liberal media over these horrifying crimes against U.S. citizens. The pain of American angel families was ignored and dismissed because it undermined the Democrat narrative. Innocent Americans like Jocelyn Nungray, Laken Riley, and Rachel Morin are just a few of the many victims savagely murdered.
And I mean, let's be honest, what was it? It was a chief border patrol guy. He came out and he was showing all the guys that they cleaned up off the street. We're talking about child predators, murderers, like people who've committed the worst of the worst crimes that are being taken off the streets of Minnesota and Minneapolis. Well, basically the same place. And for some reason, all is being framed as, oh, they're trying to take away our neighbors. But I mean, let's be real. Yes, they are going after the undocumented immigrants as well who haven't committed crimes, but they are going after the worst of the worst as well. And these protesters are not even being protesters. They're now obstructionists. They're now obstructing law enforcement. They're now trying to impede on the enforcement of the immigration law. And that just is not acceptable. As much as you guys want to go out there and be against this, you guys can protest, but you cannot obstruct. That's all. That's it. I'm not sure what the confusion is, but apparently you Dems need to be told 3-4 times.
Illegal alien criminals. Earlier this month, an illegal alien from Mexico with a long criminal history who came into our country under Joe Biden's administration threw a baseball-sized stone at a school bus carrying children in New Jersey and fractured the skull of an 8-year-old innocent child. President Trump promised accountability to these American families by securing the border, deporting every illegal alien who has committed crimes, especially and most importantly, violent crimes. Nearly 80 million Americans voted for him to deliver on that very promise, and he is. As the duly elected president, the president is fulfilling the will of the people by arresting and removing these threats from our country in cities from Los Angeles to New York, and yes, Minneapolis. Yet Democrat leaders in Minnesota with sanctuary city policies have actively defied federal immigration law and the will of the people. And as a result of that defiance, 2 Minnesotans have now tragically lost their lives on the streets of Tim Walz's state.
True.
It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today. That's why President Trump spoke with Governor WALZ directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota. Number 1, Governor WALZ, Mayor Frey, and all Democrat leaders should turn over all criminal illegal aliens currently incarcerated in their prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with
because apparently that's been a problem. These guys trying to deport the people that they've detained in these Minneapolis jails, but they're not being allowed to. AKA, these guys are protecting, well, illegal immigrants, possibly illegal immigrants who've committed heinous crimes from being deported. It's just like, are you serious? Not only while they're doing that, they're not stopping these protesters from, well, following ICE around, attacking ICE, trying to trap them in, honk their horns to let these illegals know that they're in the area. Like, they're not trying to stop any of that.
Any illegal aliens with active warrants or no.
But they want to sit there and talk about how bad ICE is. But here's the thing, though. They're the ones making it worse. ICE was not trained to do crowd control. They're not. It's like common sense will say that, yeah, it's supposed to be the local police that's supposed to come in there and help them out. And if things get too crazy, then, I mean, the governor's supposed to bring in the National Guard. I mean, it does seem like Minneapolis or Minnesota is about to get hit with that Insurrection Act, and then it's going to be up to the president. And I'm going to tell you right now, you guys are complaining about a police state, but you're about to walk yourself into a police state.
Own criminal histories for immediate deportation. Number 2, state and local law enforcement must agree to turn over all illegal aliens who are arrested by local police. And then thirdly, local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes, especially violent crimes. If Governor WALZ and Mayor Frey implement these common sense cooperative measures that I will add have already been implemented in nearly every single other state across the country, Customs and Border Patrol will not be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement can peacefully work together as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions. Additionally, President Trump is calling on the United States Congress to immediately pass legislation ending sanctuary cities once and for all. American cities should be safe sanctuaries for law-abiding citizens only, not for dangerous illegal alien criminals who broke our nation's laws and do not belong here. We hope Governor WALZ will do the right thing and continue to work with President Trump to keep the American people safe following their call this morning. Americans overwhelmingly want exactly what President Trump is delivering: strong borders and strict immigration enforcement against the worst illegal aliens, of which there are still hundreds of thousands to deport from the interior of our country. The most peaceful way to carry out—
And if you didn't know already, Pam Bondi has already sent Governor Tim Walz a letter, a strongly worded letter, pretty much telling him like, yo, we need you to start helping out ICE by providing crowd control. We need all your records on voting, on your voting registration records. We need that data. And we also need your welfare recipient data as well. So she pretty much asked the man for three things: help with ICE, welfare data, and voting registration data. And that's how he can get back in the good graces of, I guess, the president, which I don't think Tim Walz honestly care about. But at this point, all the things that's going on in Minnesota, I mean, he needs to give himself some type of, I don't know, he needs to make himself seem like he's fighting it in some way, shape, or form, because obviously it didn't look like he was fighting the fraud. Obviously didn't look like he was fighting the voter registration discrepancies. And then we all know he's not providing any type of help to ICE whatsoever.
This vital public safety mission is for Republicans and Democrats to do it together, and for state and local law enforcement to work together with federal law enforcement. We want to let cops be cops. You wouldn't know this continues to be a very popular policy position.
Bro, you are dumb. I mean, first off, how am I ass kissing if I'm just telling you the truth of what's going on? Like, you're crying just because you've seen a lady on a screen. Like, bro, like, how emotionally weak are you if you just seen somebody on the screen? It's not even Trump, though, by the way. It's not even Trump, and you're crying about Trump. Like, you don't even got to see the man for him to come inside your head, bro. Like, bro, I mean, you might love this man Trump more than me if you don't got to see him, but you got to mention him.
From the biased media coverage over the course of the last—
who's more of an ass kisser? The one that don't even see Trump and mention him, or the guy who's just reporting what he sees? I didn't even mention Trump. You mentioned the man before me. That's just crazy.
Few days, but polling shows huge support for this exact thing President Trump is calling for. More than 80% of Americans favor deporting illegal aliens convicted of violent crimes. A country unable to deport criminals who enter it illegally is no country at all. The open borders agenda of Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and the Democrats was already on the ballot on November 5th, 2024, and it was resoundingly rejected. President Trump will never back down from his promise to deport violent criminal illegal aliens and make America safe again, and he welcomes all cooperation in that effort. With that, I will answer your questions. And Jordan Conradson, why don't you kick us off today? Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. Jordan Conradson from Gateway Pundit. I have a few questions. First, with respect to the shooting in Minneapolis, we're seeing massive outrage from mainstream media and the left, but I'm just wondering, where was that outrage when Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force veteran, was executed by Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd, who she posed no threat to in the U.S. Capitol?
Well, you raised a very important point, which I also believe that I just raised as well in those opening remarks, in that there has no doubt been selective outrage by the liberal bias media. And
because Ashley Babbitt was seen as MAGA, and I mean, they just have no heart for those people. It's like, that's the funny part, though. It's like, because she was MAGA, the left shut the F up about it. But Renee Good and my man Alex Petty, here's the thing, though. These people both walked themselves into a situation that they could have avoided. I'm going to be real with you. Like, Ashley Babbitt, she didn't have to step through there. She could have been alive today if she didn't take those steps, just like Renee Good would have been alive today if she didn't move her car, just like Alex would be alive today if he didn't get in the way of that ICE officer, basically during the law enforcement scene. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's choices. The choices you make is gonna decide where you end up in life. And sometimes your choice is gonna put you in the grave. And that's what happened with those three choices right there. And I'm giving criticism of Ashley Babbitt, who's on the right, and Renee Good and Alex, who are on the left. And I'm going to be fair. Look, if one side is all right, and we're going to say that's lawful, and you're going to say that with Ashley Babbitt, then we can say the same thing with Renee Good and Alex Petty. Same thing. And y'all just going to have to deal with that, because you wasn't trying to show that same energy for Ashley Babbitt, January 6th or not. Still a wife, still a woman, still an American citizen.
And choosing victims and highlighting their stories. And as I've said, President Trump does not want any Americans to lose their lives in the streets of America and in American communities across the country. He believes what happened on Saturday is a tragedy, but every life is equal to President Trump, and that's why the lives of Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungray continue to matter to him and be an utmost priority to him to this very day. And it's unfortunate that we did not see the same type of sensationalist media coverage over the tragic deaths of those innocent American women and girls across the country as we are in the wake of this tragedy that took place on Saturday.
Crazy.
Gabe.
No, I think that's a really good point. Like, the left wasn't even trying to talk about those deaths. But I mean, the Renee Good die. I mean, let's be real. We're talking about a lady who got brutally murdered by an illegal immigrant. Bro, the left does not even want to talk about it. Doesn't even want to mention her name. Renee Good gets killed by ICE and a nationwide sensation. It's just like, I'm gonna be real with you. This is selective outrage.
Go ahead.
I want to get your response to this. The Arizona Attorney General, just days before this shooting in Minneapolis, she seemingly encouraged rioters to go out, shoot, and kill ICE agents. And I'll quote her here. She said, "If you reasonably believe your life's in danger and you're in the house or in your car or on your property, you can defend yourself with lethal force." And she said that you can't tell if ICE agents are law enforcement or imposters, and it becomes an issue of whether you reasonably believe they were law enforcement. Do you have a response to that? And
I mean, shoot, I know I do. That's what they want. That's what they want. They want one of these protesters to take the law into their own hand, or what they feel is the law, and kill one of these ICE officers, right? And then this was going to happen right after. Now, we're going to expect this person to be arrested, but the mayor, the officials, the judges in Minneapolis is going to protect that person, make sure they don't get arrested, and it's going to cause a whole problem because this is what they want. And I'm telling you, that's going to be the setup to, I'm be real with you, one of the most divisive situations that in America. We're telling me if a protester, leftist protester, goes out there and shoot an ICE officer and they're getting protected by their own from the law, yeah, that's going to be a huge problem.
does the White House believe that she should be held accountable for these remarks?
Such dangerous rhetoric, as I pointed out, is exactly what has brought us to this position today, where you have elected Democrat officials across the country who are encouraging left-wing agitators and crazy people to go out and unlawfully obstruct lawful immigration enforcement. Again, these brave men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and the federal enforcement are just trying to do their jobs to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to go after the worst of the worst in this country. I would encourage everyone in this room, and I would encourage the Arizona Attorney General to look at the video of an ICE agent in Minneapolis. He was approached by left-wing agitators who were honking their horns and were screaming slurs at him. And he rolled down his window and he said, "What are you doing? I am out here trying to catch a child predator, somebody who has convicted crimes against an innocent child. And you are trying to obstruct me from doing my job." This rhetoric against ICE, comparing them to Nazi, Gestapo, Donald Trump's police force, is despicable, it is shameful, and it is precisely what has led to the escalation of tensions in Minneapolis and in other places across the country. Gabe, go ahead.
I mean, that's the worst thing about this. These protesters don't even know what they're honestly stopping. They're thinking they're stopping the deportation of what, or the capturing of undocumented immigrants. Well, to be honest with you, that's kind of half true, but you're actually stopping the arrest, the apprehension of some pretty heinous criminals who've done some pretty crazy things. I mean, especially when it comes to their sexual crimes. So the fact that I know the left don't agree with that, but I mean, you're out here protecting it. So I would like to let you know that you are out here protecting pedophiles while crying about Donald Trump being a pedophile. I want to let you guys know that right now. You're protecting pedophiles while crying about an administration being full of them.
You do her for justifying violence.
I would defer you to the Department of Justice on that.
Thank you, Caroline. Regarding Minnesota, on Saturday, the Department of Homeland Security posted that Preddy looks like he wanted to do maximum damage to massacre law enforcement. Stephen Miller on Saturday posted that, or called Preddy a would-be assassin. Why did administration officials jump to conclusions before an investigation had even been conducted?
Well, look, this has obviously been a very fluid and fast-moving situation throughout the weekend. As for President Trump, whom I speak for, he has said that he wants to let the investigation continue and let the facts lead in this case.
With regards to the deployment of Tom Homan to Minneapolis, should the deployment of Mr. Homan to Minneapolis be seen as a sign that the president is dissatisfied with how the officials on the ground had handled the incident?
No, Mr. Holman is doing an exceptional job, and he has been working with Secretary Noem and President Trump over the course of the last year. Secretary Noem still has the utmost confidence and trust of the President of the United States, and she's continuing to oversee the entire Department of Homeland Security and all of the immigration enforcement that's taking place across the whole entire country. Of course, Secretary Noem is also in charge of FEMA, and we are in the wake of a brutal winter storm where hundreds of thousands of Americans have been impacted by that. So Border Czar Homan is in a unique position to drop everything and go to Minnesota to continue having these productive conversations with state and local officials. And I know that he's catching a plane in just a few hours to do just that at the request of the president.
Yeah, and the current guy who's leading ICE, who's been doing all the press conferences, yeah, he's out and Tom Homan's in. Now, it does look like Donald Trump is actually following what Alex Jones was saying on his broadcast. When I didn't say this, but Alex Jones said it when he said that, we should pull back ICE and we should send them in there. We should pull back ICE, do some intelligence on the ground, see what's going on with there, see how the protesters are organizing, these ICE watchers and all that, and that's a re-enter so we know how to counteract them. Because right now they're just surprising ICE with all types of BS, and they have really no time to react. So it does seem like they're doing a strategical retreat to re-enter in on another day.
Jennifer.
On Saturday's shooting, has the president been briefed, and have you been briefed on specific details of the shooting? How many shots were fired? How many guns discharged? And I mean, did the protesters' gun go off, or only the officers' guns? Do you have any of those details?
Again,
now it looks like the protesters' gun went off, because I was doing some research, and it does look like the gun that he was handling has a very bad malfunction. I mean, honestly, the way these SIGs are made, they should all be recalled, but apparently SIGs don't care that much. But yeah, it has a very peculiar malfunction that I'm just going to show you right now. Like, check this out, guys.
Put some input into the slide somewhere. Will it go off again? Will it release? Let's see.
Yep. You see that right there? Basically the same type of gun this guy Alex Petty had. And for some reason, these guns can go off without pulling the trigger, which is, I mean, well, I'm gonna be real with you. I wouldn't buy a gun like that. And they've been known to fire while they're in the holster, shooting people in the leg. They've been known to fire just from accidentally being dropped. I mean, all the stuff that you wouldn't want a gun to do.
That's 3 in a row. Let me take the screw out. Number 4. Let's try it again. Let me show you. Fully functioning striker safety. All right. Should we do it with the magazine again? Let's put the magazine back in, and then we'll try the last one with the magazine out. Handy dandy trigger input tool. We are going to try to, dang, sorry about that. I'm trying to get over a sinus thing and a cough. We're going to try to simulate all right, here we go. Again, we are roughly, as we saw on the tabletop, I'm guessing we're roughly 1 millimeter to less than 1 millimeter of engagement on that trigger. And let's see if we can get it to go off again.
Son of a. Yeah.
That was 4.
And the reason why I showed you guys this is because discharge of that gun could have been, and that honestly could have been the reason why they just opened fire on this guy like it was open season on him. And I know I said a bit gruesomely, but to be real with you, yeah, that makes sense. If there was a gun that fired and they don't know where it's coming from, they're assuming that it came from Alex. And I believe that the gun discharged right when the officer took it away. It discharged, and everybody thought that, I don't know, maybe if it was an outside protester, maybe it was Alex who reached for a gun, and they end up just firing on him. It's like, honestly, it's very sloppy the way that went down, but if it's because of a gun that just went off and everybody just mistaked it as Alex, I mean, we just can't. Sadly, they're not gonna. Honestly, not even sadly, but understandingly so, they're not just gonna put that all on the ICE officer. Mhm. See, and I don't like how, I don't like what Christy Nome is doing or the other guys doing by calling them domestic terrorists. Because I mean, with Renee Good, I'm be honest with you, there's like we didn't really know her intent. We don't know if her intent was to be a domestic terrorist. We don't know. We never will know. So we can't sit there and just call domestic terrorist without knowing for sure. That's a pretty damning thing to say about somebody. And then with this guy, Alex Petty, I mean, we can't say that about him either. It seems like he was just trying to protect this woman by obstructing an officer, and it ended really bad for him. Is that domestic terrorism? No, not really. No, not at all. Oh crap, man! Hold on. Whoops. Oh wow, my bad, guys. I didn't even know I still had the video. Whoops.
He committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist.
HSI and FBI are conducting interviews with those that were involved and the agents who were involved in this unfortunate tragedy on Saturday.
Are they keeping the president up to date on all those details?
The president is obviously very much on the ball with respect to this investigation. I think he's made that quite clear with the various statements that you've seen him put out, and also the 4 points that the president has outlined as well to Governor WALZ, and to encourage him to cooperate with ICE and with the administration. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. To follow on Gabe's question, Secretary Nome said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
Was he alarmed to hear his top officials referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. On Stephen Miller's comments, will Stephen Miller be apologizing to the family of Alex Preddy?
Yeah, people jump into this whole domestic terrorist claim on Renee Good and Alex Petty. Yeah, don't do that. I mean, there's no strong evidence to suggest that they were domestic terrorists until we can figure out what type of organization they belong to, if they was Antifa, which there is no proof of that whatsoever. So yeah, let's not jump the gun and call these guys domestic terrorists. Obstructionists, sure, we can call them that all day, but terrorists, no.
For calling him, quotes, an assassin who tried to murder federal agents, despite the fact that, as you say, this is still under investigation.
Look, again, this incident remains under investigation, and nobody here at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt or killed and losing their lives in American streets. And we mourn for the parents. As a mother myself, of course, I cannot imagine the loss of life, especially losing one's child. And that same empathy from the president goes for the parents of angel families, parents of victims of illegal alien crime across our country as well. And that's exactly why the president continues to be wholeheartedly committed to deporting the worst of the worst criminals from our country. Why don't we go to the back? Kelly.
Does the president believe that the killing, though, was a mistake? Has he expressed that at all?
Again, the president has said we have to review it, and this investigation needs to continue. And he's
I'll be
letting
real with you, like Renee Good. Yeah, I mean, all of them were honestly, you could say, a mistake. But well, maybe not Renee Good, because like I said, from the perception of that officer who the Renee Good drive her car towards, it looked like, his life was in danger. So was his partner's, whose arm was still in the car. So he shot off that one. But Alex Petty, that one could have been a honest to God mistake. They heard a gun discharge and they all thought it was Alex. So they all started firing on him. And I mean, that just seems to be what it is. But we'll wait until more information comes out, of course.
Facts on the investigation lead itself.
Does he want the body camera footage to be released to the public? Now,
That's not something I've heard the president commit to, so I won't do that from the podium. Sure.
Carrie, how serious is the administration taking allegations that local and state officials in Minnesota are actively coordinating with demonstrators through encrypted or non-encrypted communications, as well as providing government resources to impede immigration enforcement operations?
I'm sorry, Carrie, could you repeat your question?
How serious is the administration taking allegations that local and state Minnesota officials are communicating with demonstrators to basically impede immigration officials?
Well, we've definitely seen active organization amongst these left-wing groups, Carrie, and it is something that I know the FBI and the Department of Justice are looking into. Again, it is illegal to unlawfully obstruct lawful immigration enforcement in this country. And these agitators are making it nearly impossible for ICE to do their jobs and for federal law enforcement to carry out the will of the American people to deport the worst of the worst. I would just encourage everyone to please imagine in this room, all of you come to the White House every day to report on the President of the United States and the administration. You come into this briefing room, you walk through the gates of the White House. Just imagine if there were left-wing agitators or agitators of any kind who were in your face, who were doxing you, who were harassing you, who were physically threatening you, who were biting off your fingers in the case of two Border Patrol agents we saw this past weekend in Minneapolis. That would make it very difficult for you to show up and do your job here at the White House every single day. That's what these officers in Minneapolis are facing. That's why the president is calling on Governor WALZ and Mayor Frey for these three very simple and common sense points of cooperation so that ICE and local law enforcement can work together. Again, we are just asking for police to be police.
Literally.
And if you ask...
No, that's literally all they're asking for. That's why I'm saying, like, these guys should be brought up on obstruction charges, because that's exactly what they're doing. I'm talking about the mayor, Jacob Frey, mayor of Minneapolis, and Governor Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. Because, like, Tim Walz, well, he could have brought the National Guard and all this would have been done. But at a much lower level, Jacob Frey could have just ordered the local police to provide crowd control, and that'd have been it. And we would never have situations like Renee Good and Alex Petty at all.
Any law enforcement agent or official, they want to be able to work with their federal counterparts at the state and local level, and vice versa.
Caroline.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions. One is looking forward. The role of Mr. Homan. Is he being sent by the president to diffuse the situation that exists right now on the ground? Is he the point person essentially for the White House in terms of trying to tamp down the tensions that exist right now in Minnesota?
Well, Mr. Homan is the point person for cooperating with state and local authorities and corresponding with them, again, to achieve this level of cooperation to subdue the chaos on the streets of Minneapolis. And I would just point out that Mr. Homan is someone who has been lauded for many, many decades for his experience working in law enforcement. In fact, this is a Washington Post headline from 9 years ago, 2016. Meet the man the White House has honored for deporting illegal immigrants. Yep. And I would remind everyone in this room that it was former President Barack Hussein Obama who awarded a medal to Mr. Homan. So
yes, that man Obama did. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Trump brought him in. He brought in one of the guys who gave Barack Obama one of his biggest success, and that was deporting 3 million illegal immigrants. I mean, that was Tom Homan's work, especially when it came down to what was going on at the border. That was Tom Homan's work. The man has been in it for a while. The thing is, though, Tom Homan does it for Obama and everybody shuts the F up. He does it for Trump, and now it's this big national situation now where ICE is the Gestapo. And I'm just like, they were doing the same exact thing under Obama. You know what the difference is? The difference is this. One, these weren't so advanced. Social media wasn't so prominent or so ubiquitous. to the point where you can just hop on any social media and just make a viral video or take a video or take a policing out of context just with this right here.
So he's obviously very qualified. He has the full trust and faith of the president. He will continue to have these meetings in the hopes that ICE and local law enforcement can cooperate and work together to have successful immigration enforcement, as we've seen in almost every other state across the country.
Secondly, Caroline, can you talk a little bit about tomorrow's trip by the president to Iowa, what the purpose of that trip is, what the goals of that trip are?
Sure, yes. Tomorrow, President Trump will be traveling to Des Moines, Iowa. He will be making a local visit at a local business, and then he will be giving a speech on affordability and on the economy. And I know he very much looks forward to being there, to meeting with the great people of Iowa, but also lawmakers as well. Jake.
Caroline, a couple quick questions. First, does the president remain fully confident in Kristi Noem's ability to lead the DHS?
Yes.
And then just secondly, just on that Wall Street Journal reporting that we saw yesterday, the president said at some point that the immigration enforcement officers would leave Minneapolis. Did the Saturday killing of Alex Pretty expedite that withdrawal at all?
To your first question, the answer is yes. He still has confidence and trust in Secretary Noem. To the second question, I would point you back to what I said earlier.
Here's the thing, though, and I don't know if a lot of Dems understand this, but we're not blaming ICE. We're not blaming Secretary Noem over here on MAGA. We're not. Over here on the right, we're blaming, honestly, the laziness of leadership in Minnesota politicians. Let's be honest with you. Like I said, Jacob Fry can go up there and provide crowd control. He can use not all 600, but he can get some officers together. Oh, wait, hold on. If they don't have the officers, then Tim Walz need to bring in the National Guard to provide crowd control then. You see where there's a problem with leadership here? Okay, cool. You want to make the excuse that you don't got enough officers, then Tim Walz should be bringing in the National Guard to provide crowd control since you don't have the resources for it, instead of just going without and putting your constituents in danger. Doesn't that just make sense if you actually gave a damn about the situation?
Walz and Mayor Fry implement these common sense cooperative measures, CBP will no longer be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement.
Hey, man, shout out to my man Ham. Appreciate the support, my brother. First one, too. Right now, we under a shadow ban, my friend, so it's going to be slow in the chat for, a couple weeks. But it is what it is, man. I appreciate you sticking it through with me.
Will peacefully work together, as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions, to remove violent criminals from American neighborhoods across the country.
Did Walz ask the president to remove the immigration enforcement officers?
He asked the president to scale down, and the president reiterated what the president put out in his statement yesterday and what I'm sharing with all of you as well. I would just add on this level of cooperation a few statistics that I think are very important. 7 of the top 10 safest cities in the United States cooperate with ICE. And we've seen historic turnaround in safety in cities that have chosen to cooperate with ICE, that are not just led by Republicans, but also look right here in Washington, D.C. We had a great level of cooperation with Mayor Bowser and the local government, and we have been able to remove thousands of illegal aliens from the District of Columbia, where you all live. So you can thank President Trump for that. The murder rate in Washington, D.C. has plummeted as a result. There were no riots. There were no protests. Nobody was tragically killed as a result of that level of cooperation between federal and local authorities. And again, that's all the president is asking for in Minnesota. It's totally common sense. Jared, go ahead.
Thank you. Caroline, in this process, you continue to describe the situation in Minneapolis as chaos. Was there any mistake made by Secretary Noem that led the president to send Mr. Homan there?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Did Secretary Noem make a mistake which led to?
She made any mistake that could lead the president to send Mr. Homan to Minneapolis?
No, as I already mentioned, Mr. Homan has been working alongside Secretary Noem and for the president over the course of the last year. And again, he's uniquely positioned to hop on a flight to Minnesota today to continue this correspondence with state and local authorities, and that's what he's going to be doing.
Yeah, because now, as Tom Homan goes there, ICE is going to pull back out of Minnesota to return on a later date. But this is what Tom Homan's going out there to do. He's going to talk to Walz. He's going to figure out, all right, well, why can't you provide crowd control? They're going to figure that out. They're going to figure out, all right, well, these detainees that you're not allowing us to get, we're going to figure that out. And then we're going to rebring in ICE. After, of course, they get more intelligence on these ICE watcher guys and all this good stuff as well. like I said, they're kind of going into there on a reactionary, like, well, honestly, they're going into there, well, kind of unprepared, to be quite honest with you, because in other states, none of this is happening. None of this is honestly happening, guys. And I think this video sums it up pretty well. Like, there's not, like, bro, in Minneapolis, they just got a special group of people who truly feel like ICE is out to get them, who truly feel like they're the Gestapo, who